Hey, this is Matt. Once again, welcome back to the videos. The paid request this time for PhilSunderland. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, review, topic, reaction, commentary, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for the 1988 film Alice, which I did not know what this was, but it's from a Czech director, Jan, I'm going to butcher this name, Svankmajer, Švankmajer, Jan, I can't pronounce it, but is a Czech, Czech director, Czech director that apparently he's very much into stop motion, very surreal in his direction, and you could tell because this is the creepiest Alice in Wonderland movie I've seen. Although it's still technically, I guess you would call a family film, but it's kind of like if Alice in Wonderland met Liquid Television. Remember that from MTV back in the day? It makes Return to Oz look like Barney the fucking dinosaur. Because you Return to Oz, the darker version of Wizard of Oz. This is definitely a darker version of Alice in Wonderland. There's, at times, well, depending on which version you watch, little dialogue from people like Alice. It's one of those where, you know the story of Alice in Wonderland, but this does things a bit differently. Little girls throw rocks into her tea. There's dolls around. It's a very creepy environment. The walls just peeling. The paint just peeling down. There's like a rundown place. And there's two versions on YouTube. There's one that's quote with the original soundtrack, which I was watching the other version, which had subtitles, but I had to stop watching that, and there's an important reason why. In that version, which might be the true version, all the time, it did this annoying thing where one of the other characters, whether it be the rabbit, the queen of the playing cards, somebody would say something, and they would cut to Alice's lips. Said the queen, said the rabbit, blah blah blah. So it'd be one of the characters says something, and they're cut to Alice going, said the king, said the queen, said the You don't need that shit. Now, like I said, there are times where it's very much the visuals and not dialogue, but when it does happen, and you have to keep showing it. But there's another version on YouTube that says Alice in Wonderland 1980 with original soundtrack or something, where it doesn't do that. And it's dubbed in English, so you don't have to read subtitles. So I watched that one. The picture quality is a little bit less. Also, at the very, very end, the music gets so loud you barely hear what people are saying. So each one has their issues. Again, the foreign one has better picture quality. It doesn't have the loud music during the finale of the film. But again, it has this annoying, said, like a storybook. Or like a, I don't know what the fuck the point was. Muse the rabbit. Like, imagine I did the whole review and Alice said this and did this, and then the rabbit. That's why I couldn't watch that version. I had to watch the one with the original music. Which, I mean, if that's a fan version, then they did a remarkable job editing all that shit out. Well, I don't know the full history of this, so if PhilSunderland does, feel free to let me know and educate me. Now, I don't know, I'm 5 minutes in, I just had to get that out of there. It's a live action film, but there's a lot of stop motion, and there's some really good stop motion. And this feels like more of what the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie should have been, and not the one that we got in 2010. With fucking Johnny Depp doing the futter whacking, the Butterfingers, what the fuck he was doing. This felt like more of a Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie. There's a lot of great stop motion, and it's, like I said, it has a darker vibe to it. Like, again, she's in this room, and there's creepy dolls everywhere, and the paint's peeling down, and there's a stuffed rabbit. And through stop motion, he gets himself out, and he even rips himself and sawdust, which technically is his guts are falling out. And there's times like he like licks it, like licking his own guts, because it's sawdust. Dislikes that. And he reaches inside himself and pulls out his pocket watch. And so it's just a bunch of surreal scenes put together. I just technically just say that's what Alice in Wonderland is to begin with. But while like Disney one is more of a fairy tale, this is more like a very weird, surreal, creepy dream, which was the director's intention. So she follows the rabbit into this desk and goes down this elevator, and as she's going down, she'll pass by like animal bones, and it's like the taxidermist's wet dream. And I guess because it's her dream, she just knows things without needing to read or see it. So subliminally, she knows what this stuff is, so she'll just take something and drink it, and shrinks. And then there's a scene that when she shrinks, she turns to a doll, and it's a stop motion doll. And then she takes something to go back, transition from her stop motion doll to her normal self. Now, I will say the foreign version, it's the little girl's actual voice. You just read the subtitles. That did sound better to the ear, while the dub, when she does talk, it's not the best dub job. So I wish there was a mix of both worlds. I guess if you somehow took the foreign one and cut out all of the up close shots of her mouth, said the rabbit. You know, if there's a happy medium between the two, it'd be nice to see that. But yeah, she tastes his drink, and it shrinks her from a normal girl to a stop motion doll, a creepy looking doll. But if she eats a cookie, she'll grow back to normal. And there'll be stuff like she's trapped in this room, and this rat comes in, like she's crying, and the tears fill up the room, and this rat comes in, stop motion, gets on her head, nails stuff into her head, and even makes like a little thing to cook food, and she's like, enough of that, dumps her head in to get the rat off her. There's a bit where, what was it? She has to crawl into this place to find where the rabbit's going, because she keeps following the rabbit. She gets stuck in this place. Then the rabbit kind of says fuck this and tries to attack her and is trying to get in. She's like pushing his ladder down. He calls his friends, and his friends all these creepy amalgamations of like a lizard body with a bone head, and others like animal dead bones, everything mixed together. Again, it's like MTV's Liquid Television with Alice in Wonderland. That's what it reminded me of. She even throws the lizard with the bone head and it dies and the sawdust comes out. And literally some of his friends are filling up its belly with the sawdust, like just to bring it back to life. She shrinks herself to a doll and is chased by them and is dropped to a vat. And the vat turns her back to normal, but she's trapped in this creepy doll costume until ultimately she has to rip out. This is a great visual treat for people who like stop motion animation and who like seeing these type of tales and a surreal, creepy, unique vibe to it all. It's definitely worth a look for that for anybody who's at all interested in any of that type of stuff. Like I said, if you want to see what a true Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland film would be, this is it. And the rabbit, his face at times is so damn creepy looking. In fact, that's probably the image that I have there. Is like the bug eyes and the, like when his stuffed animal gets out and it has these things, it's like just with the bug eyes. Sorry, Janine, about the bug eye thing. Just creepy as fuck to watch. There's even the bit where she goes in and like these weird tube sockworms and then grabs these big dentures. So it's like a sockworm with an eyeball and these big dentures. Tells her some stuff, they have a conversation, and then to go to sleep, it sews its own eyes shut. I'm like, what the fuck drugs were they on with this? A lot of acid. A lot of acid was in play in this. Or she hears a baby crying and gets this dollhouse and things are being thrown out. And there's this one creature that looks like a frog. And you see stop motion of it coming out and getting these flies. The rabbit gets in and throws what you think is a baby, but you find out it's a baby pig. But times the baby pig will cry like a human baby. I especially like the stop motion, how they make the playing cards come to life. Because actual playing cars, and they're like able to have a sword fight, and the queen's like off with his head. And the rabbit, like the rabbit is, of all the Alice in Wonderland versions I've seen, this one where the rabbit is the most crucial to the story. That Alice is the one following that thing throughout the entire bit. That's the one that Alice has to deal with all the time, where it's throwing stones at her or she's throwing stuff at it. He's trying to get into this little dollhouse and she keeps pushing him off and pushing him off the ladder. The rabbit's the one getting the scissor and cutting off the playing cards' heads. Even the T, which I guess you'd call the Mad Hatter. But they do it differently here, where the Mad Hatter, it's pretty much someone on strings with his buddy. It's not as memorable as like the Disney one, the songs and all that stuff. I don't want to say mundane, because there's nothing mundane about this movie, but I don't know, something about the way that was interpreted just didn't seem as interesting or as intriguing compared to other versions of the Mad Hatter. I mean, it's not as annoying as Johnny Depp in fucking Tim Burton's movie, but he doesn't really play much of a function into the movie, and it's kind of just there with the tea, and it just didn't seem like a big deal. I don't know how else to word it. But yeah, the fucking rabbit cuts their heads off, and then they get the raw heads and put them back on. I mean, Jesus Christ, this rabbit's cut more heads off than Jason fucking Voorhees. This really just felt like the inner workings of a disturbed child. That's what it felt like. It felt like this kid is fucked up. This kid is going to be a serial killer one day or something. I mean, this kid is supremely fucked up. And maybe that was the point the director was making, is that if you don't visualize this shit, you probably are fucked up. But I guess he just wanted to make a surreal, creepy dream as a different interpretation of the Alice in Wonderland story, which, from what I understand, he was a big fan of. And I didn't make it less of a fairy tale, more of this almost Requiem for a Dream type of fucking movie. It was an interesting experience, I would say that. Like I said, there's little pieces of dialogue here and there. There's not a strong narrative. Like, there's no character arc for Alice. There's no... Like I said, it's kind of... It's a... In a way, follows the Alice in Wonderland motif, but it still feels a group of surreal scenes put together as she's following this rabbit, and just these little trippy excursions with some very top-notch stop motion. And you can tell they put a lot of heart and soul into the stop motion. Now, there's a bit where she transforms to the doll, and there's a key she needs, but it's too high. So the doll tries to go up, and then it falls, and it goes back up again. Stuff like that. The amount of time it takes to put in a stop motion, most people be like, no, I'm not going to have it fall back and then try to climb up again. Because you have to literally move 1 inch or centimeter, click, move again, move this, click. It's such a time-consuming process that to put those, well, yeah, the person trying to climb, they screw up, they try to climb again. That one thing alone could take days or maybe even weeks to fucking make it into an actual sequence. Like, it's a very time-consuming process, which more than likely is why they don't really do a lot of stop-motion stuff nowadays. But like, I'm a sucker for it because it's a interesting visual aesthetic, but at the same time, it's still a real tangible thing. So even though, no, technically it's not moving naturally, but it's still something really physically there. It's just such a unique technique. And it's like I said, it's always fascinating to me when it gets utilized. I thought it was utilized very well in this. Definitely the star of the film. The little girl, like I said, depending which version, if you listen to her actual voice with the subtitle, she does fine. The dub they gave her, she sounds a bit older. I'm not saying she sounds like a 30-year-old person, but she just doesn't sound quite right. Let's say the other characters aren't really characters. If you're very much into the Alice in Wonderland mythos, there's a lot of stuff that's not in here. Like, you don't have the caterpillar, some of the other character. Was it caterpillar? There is no Tweedledee. There is no Tweedledum that I noticed. There's no Dodo. Yeah, the caterpillar's smoking. Okay, so I wasn't. Yeah. I am confused with the Cheshire cat as well. Yeah, there was a caterpillar smoking. Okay, so I wasn't out of my mind. Yeah, there is no caterpillar in this. There's no Cheshire cat who could disappear. So again, if you're looking for, again, those type of characters, so yeah, this whole fucking 10-minute thing was for nothing. I was right. So guess I wasn't as out of my mind as I thought. It only took me a 10-minute diversion. Sorry about that, folks. I'll leave it in because to show my own stupidity. But a lot of those characters, if you're familiar with that, you're not going to see in this. Like I said, it's much more of a surreal, darker, trippier. Again, to me, I just see how this could scare the shit out of kids. That would be hilarious though if someone like, well, not funny to them. It'd be funny to me if they show their kids this and they just know of the Disney film, or maybe they just know the Johnny Depp film. And but like I said, people may be disappointed that some of those characters aren't in it. I mean, it would be interesting to see what this film's interpretation of those would have been. But I guess, it was, on the flip side, it made it feel more unique that it told its own story. So it didn't feel like a copy or a rip-off. It felt like a more of a unique interpretation. It felt like its own film and not just, like I said, not just a carbon copy. Like a lot of these Disney remakes, live-action films are, where they feel like lame copies of the original. So at least it was able to make its own foot on that. And I would say at the very least, watch some clips online. If it entices you, check out the film. Like I said, if you like the Alice in Wonderland story, if you like, and in the tradition of films like Return to Oz, if you want to see, again, in my opinion, what Tim Burton should have done with Alice in Wonderland, what his version should have been more like, check this film out. It is definitely, like I said, the Alice, at times, like, it seems like she doesn't have a lot of emotion throughout it. But I think that's how she was directed. And I think just to show that this is her dream, and she's probably not the most mentally fit child. That's what I gathered from it. And but it would have been nice if, I get what they're going with, but sometimes I'm like, are you on fucking volume, kid? Like I said, it's this back and forth in my head where it would have been nice to see some of those characters and the way this film would have interpreted in stop motion. But on the flip side, it made me kind of more interesting on the flip side because, like I said, while there's stuff it copied, like I mentioned, there's stuff that went on its own path. And so, granted, I just spoiled it. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. I should have said spoiler warning, but me explaining it might not do it justice. Seeing it in stop motion, animation combined, will showcase more of the effect that words can't. So, definitely a unique vision. And I can appreciate that. So, and different take on Alice in Wonderland, I'll say that. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.